Hey guys, I know Halloween was like more than a week ago, but I'm here with Michael. He doesn't look too good anymore, as you can tell. There's a little bit of, well, he looks a little bit bad by now, but that's because he has spent the last week on my balcony. And yeah, the weather hasn't been too kind to him, but it's alright. You should see the other pumpkins out there. One of them has like melted. It's really gross. So he's doing fine. I wanted to make this little video just for those of you who are interested in maybe the process of how this carving works, how I specifically do the process, because there's a lot of stuff. Well, my family, it's a family tradition, right? That we do, I think, a little bit differently than people might expect or something. So yeah, I got all the tools here with me, and I wanna walk you through the process. And yeah, because I'm really happy with how this one especially turned out, especially with the face and the shading. I mean, you've seen the thumbnail probably, so you saw how it looked like in the end, and I'm really happy with it. So I want to share a little bit. To start, this is a pretty big pumpkin. I mean, almost 40 centimeters. Maybe I'll put the conversion on screen if I don't forget during the editing process. But yeah, this is a big boy, right? I haven't weighted it, but it's pretty heavy. This thing's already hollow, right? If I take off the top here, it's a little bit gross, but I'm gonna put it on my lap so I can show you what it looks like from the inside. It's still in really good shape considering it was, like I said, on my balcony for a week. But yeah, it's I'm showing this where was it? Like to say it's already much lighter than in the beginning. Which brings me to the first part of the pumpkin carving is cutting the lid off and scooping out all of the insides. I don't have a picture of that. This is our tool of choice. You kind of just go in and scrape everything clean. It's pretty gross, I won't lie, but it has to be done. You can actually keep the pits. I don't have them here anymore, but they are edible and really tasty. You can like roast them in the oven for a couple hours, season them pretty good. Not the stringy bits in the beginning, but this actual meat of the pumpkin, we make a pumpkin soup out of it. And if you want to imagine like about 4 to 6 of these, there's a lot of pumpkin meat that gets made into pumpkin soup. So we usually have enough for a whole year. When choosing the right pumpkin in the first place, right? Most of the pumpkins have like they have a good and a bad side, right? So this would be the bad side where it has where it laid on the ground and it has like all of these markings and it's discolored and it has a little things on the side here as well, but you really want to look for a pumpkin that has one really good side with as little ridges as possible. Sometimes you get a pumpkin that looks good on the outside and the inside is like rotten already. It's a bit of a gamble, but usually it's fine. You have to look for like bad spots that are starting to go soft, and that can be a sign that it's already rotting. And then, yeah, we don't pick up those. Alright, so what do we do next? We have a good pumpkin, it's hollow on the inside. We have this wall kind of thinned so the light can shine through later. What I want to show you is how I prepared the stencil. This is one of the official artworks or like loading screens from GTA 5 Rockstar, obviously. This is quite a challenging picture, right? But I chose this because I had been practicing the GTA style for a while now. For example, I've been trying to study the GTA style, especially with the lighting, the shading, the colors. So yeah, this is all me trying to copy parts of the official artworks just to get a feeling for, like I said, color, shading, shapes. So I thought, okay, I already should have a little bit of a feeling for the shapes and the shading. Because in the end, that is really all that pumpkin carving is, shapes and shading, right? And I thought, all right, let's let's try this. Right, let me show you like the time lapse of preparing the stencil. That's what my stencil looks like in the end. You can see I started by taking a gray color and just trying to simplify the shapes. Basically, all that I'm drawing in gray here right now is what is later going to be carved off the pumpkin. And everything that is black, or that will remain black here in the stencil, is where the skin or the peel is going to stay. This is all about trying to simplify things, seeing where I need contrast. Because that's the thing about pumpkin carving, right? You only have contrast by light, because you don't have contrast by color. It's all going to be orange. All right, once you have the stencil, you'll want to print it out. This is like the exact one I used for the pumpkin carving, so it's a little bit messed up already. But yeah, this is basically what you would do. You want to tape it on there. There's different methods to transferring the shapes onto the pumpkin. Some people would probably just draw it by hand. This is the way that works for me. You'll see I made cuts in here in some places to compensate for putting a 2D thing on a round or like rounded surface. You also have to see where the ridges go and be very careful how you where you put the holes. What you want to do next, so yeah, we use this like these prickle needles, because that's just what we have at home and what usually works well. And you want to make very carefully, you want to make these tiny holes that will, when you take the stencil away, that you can tell where you want to carve. This is always, I do this process a little bit differently every year. You want to be very careful about where you place these holes. So for example, as you remember, the black part is where there's going to be nothing carved. The white part is the stuff that's going to go. If you make a hole too deep, can be seen later in like the final picture if you aren't careful, or if that's not going to be a space where you carve out like a lot. This, for example, this is from I think 5 years ago, 2020. The quality is a bit crappy, so I'm sorry, it's a little bit blurry, but you can clearly see, especially in this area in the middle here, that I kind of messed up during the the transferring process and put holes where I wasn't going to carve later. It just, it shows up in the final picture. You have to be like already very, very careful about where you place these holes. If you make the holes too light, you won't be able to see them on the pumpkin skin later. If you make them too deep, this might happen. Yeah, so these are the pictures from the actual carving day. So this process, going about all of these lines and sort of tracing these shapes can take a very long time. This was, yeah, I think that's half an hour I spent on this, more than half an hour. Yeah, and a lot of it, like, for example, see the fingernails, a lot of it I just leave for later to do by hand. This is what it looks like once you take the stencil off. This can be fatal, basically, if you mess up in this process now, which is going to be carving out the actual shapes. You can probably tell it can be very hard to tell which shapes or which holes belong to which shape, because it is really hard to see. It's really hard to see the holes if you did it right. So that is actually next to me on the table at all times, so I could check. I would literally count the little holes to see where the shape starts and where it begins. That's why I didn't throw this away. So that was on the table next to me the entire time. Once that is done, you want to make the basic shapes, right? And in past years, or like in past years, what I have literally used for that is straight up power tools. I'll show you the one where I know I used the Dremel for, is this one. This was 2 years ago, 2023. Also GTA related, of course, because I'm a nerd and I've been obsessed with the game for apparently 3 years now. Great, okay. That year I took a little bit of a different approach. I didn't tape the picture to the pumpkin, as you can see. Instead, this is like a very thin, special kind of paper. Yeah, very, very thin paper and a very thin layer of glue. So yeah, this is actually glued to the pumpkin, and what I did was use this thing. You can barely see it here, but there's a little like thing put in the front, and it spins really fast. And that's what I used to cut along these lines, as you can see, right through the paper. The advantage of that was that you have a little bit more control, especially when it comes to very tiny shapes, tiny pieces of the carving. And yeah, you can see in this picture as well that is a messy process. These kind of shavings will be everywhere. You can also tell in some places here it's a little bit darker. And that's because of pumpkin juice. Literal pumpkin juices all over the pumpkin, all over my hands during that process. If I don't use the power tools, I use this tool. These are meant to be I don't know if I'm saying that right, but linoleum cutters. But that's the one that I like to use for carving out the initial shapes. The cool thing about this one is that it has this little, I don't know if you can really see that, like this little thingy in the front, this little, what is that called? It has this little ridge in the front here, and you can. So yeah, this is a very, very shallow cut. I think you can barely see it on the camera. That's a little better. Very shallow cut, and if you want to make a bigger shape out of that, that is kind of what that process looks like. You clean it up a little, or you leave the cleanup for later, and you can already, maybe you can see, but there's a lot of pumpkin juice. The longer I work on these, actually, like on the days where I work on these, it will actually stain my fingertips yellow for multiple hours. The camera always wants to focus on my other hand, I'm sorry. But yeah, this tool is the absolute MVP because you can do very precise actions with that. Like this, you can already tell that my fingers are starting to go yellow. But right, honestly, at this point it looks pretty messy. But there's little room for error because, for example, on these little pieces, if you aren't careful, the pumpkin skin will like break off, and then you can't really put it back on. And that's worse than carving too deep, because the lighting difference between just the thinnest, shallowest carving and the places where the skin is actually still on, the pumpkin skin, is very big. It's a very big difference. So again, I feel like I've said this for like every part of the process now, but you really need to be careful. There's no shading at all at this point. No shading at all. It's just carving out the basic shapes, and always with this thing next to me so I can actually tell which holes belong to which line. And yeah, this takes a while. This takes a really long time. Let's see. When I started, this was 12:10, 10 minutes past 12 o'clock. This was 2 hours later, 3.5 hours later, 5 to 6 hours later, just because you have to be so careful and so precise. So yeah, this is what it looked like when I finished that part of the process. Just carving out the shapes, no cleanup yet, no shading, and it looks a little bungled, as you can see. Oh yeah, this is also like you can see the mouth here, there's two pieces to the mouth, like the middle one and our right, in the right corner of the mouth. Whoops. The one at the left, that was an accident, that I just described, right, that I described earlier, where the skin can come off if you aren't careful enough. So that's what happened here to the left part, or the left corner of the mouth. So yeah, this piece actually has a lot of like mistakes in it. I kind of assume you can't see it, but I can see it in the final product because I know the mistakes I did while carving. But whatever. After that is done, this is where the real fun part begins, which is the shading. And that's where having this next to me becomes crucial, because this is where I can now see how deep I have to carve. And let me tell you, at that point, I was really, really scared. I mean, the shading is the fun part, as I just said, but I was really scared of that face. Because shading a face, it's just like a human thing that if you make mistakes while drawing a face, and especially with the shading process, it can look uncanny very, very fast. So I was really afraid of that, and you can kind of tell that I left that for like the very end. I did all of the rest of the body first, the gun, before carving the face. Um, I can show, like, this was not the first time trying to like shade a whole face and yeah, shade a whole face. I had done faces before. For example, one of my favorites from 2021, where I was obsessed with Valorant. You can also see here, right, the problems with overdoing it, doing the pricking process with the holes, because there's also a lot of leftover holes here, which just makes it look not as clean as it could be. The hair and the face was the hardest part here as well, and I don't know, I mean, it's pretty alright, but especially like the eyes, I messed up a little there. She looks a little bit freaked out, I think. Oh yeah, you can see it a little bit better here that I messed up with the eyes. And also, yeah, this is not clean at all. It looks pretty good in the whole final product. This was also a pretty big pumpkin, I'd say about the size of the one I had this year. This was a little bit different because, the anime style was a little bit easier to shade, and this was like a complete stencil, so that's also a little bit differently. And also, this I had more space to work on this face. I mean, this was from 2017. Yeah, that was, I think, one of the first times I tried to yeah, put a human on a pumpkin, and I think it shows. That was actually the year after this one. So I think yeah, I cooked a little bit more with this one. But yeah, that one had like a complete stencil, and also this one I didn't have to plan the shading on my own. And this was sort of the first time trying to do the shading on my own. Lots of leftover holes, not my greatest work. But as it goes with these, I try to sort of challenge myself. I learned something for the next year, and that's how you improve, right? Trying new things and getting better at them. Right. So that is when I started shading, and that time, I started actually shading. I started with the face. You can already tell it's a massive difference from, having done no cleanup to the surface at all and going through this, where you can now actually tell that there's a like rim light to the left of his face and a little bit of a broader daylight sort of lighting situation on his right side, like speaking from our perspective. And yeah, then it was layering all about layering. Let me show you the main tool I used for that. I also use this tool. This is kind of an all-rounder. I use that thing for everything when it comes to pumpkin carving. But this one's good for a little bit broader ridges that are deeper in the middle because of this little thing. I still don't know the word, but whatever. I also used this one, which has this very sharp thing at the front, which was good for thinner, more pointed ridges. And this one as well, purely because it has these two different like angles. This one and this one. And also you can use this one if you want to have a very flat and clean surface. I barely take breaks while carving these things because if I take a break, then I won't want to come back because it's a whole day. They take me a whole day. 8 hours, 7 hours, sometimes more, sometimes less. Right around around here, I started to actually put a very strong flashlight into the pumpkin, which is necessary so I can see how the light, like how the carving actually influences the light coming through. The hands were another challenge too. I'm not too happy with especially how the hands turned out, but it's fine. It's fine. This is how it looked like when it was done, and it looks it looks really weird if there's not a light inside and a picture isn't being taken. But it is what it is. The cool thing is, my dad is like a hobby photographer, and he takes really, really good pictures. We have like a massive, powerful flashlight that we put in there. We also take pictures with candles inside sometimes, but those are just usually not strong enough. The more powerful the light source is, the more contrast you get, and I think that's better for the picture in the end. That's the final picture, how it turned out in the end. I think this one took about 7 hours, so I was actually a little bit quicker than I thought. I usually plan about 8 hours for pumpkins of this size or projects of this size. I was pretty excited at how well this turned out. I'm still very happy with this. I was super afraid, especially of shading the face and stuff, because also when drawing, I mean, I've been drawing for a very long time, like making digital art, right? And I'm still not very good at drawing faces, hands, hair, all that difficult stuff. So I am very, very happy with how this turned out. And honestly, this makes me really, really excited that, I feel like this is like the first time I did a very good shading of a human face that I had to like do myself, right? I didn't have a stencil for that, like the Jack Sparrow pumpkin. But yeah, I really had to do the stencil myself. I had to do the shading by hand, just by looking at the reference and then going from there. And yeah, I'm just really excited because from this point on, I'm sort of like, I can choose any sort of picture, like next year, I know I can also choose another like, human figure to put on there. I'm just really, really excited. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I could keep saying it, but I won't. This recording has already been way too long. You can tell he's already starting to, like, the pumpkin's starting to go bad. I think we're going to throw these away tomorrow. But yeah, this is about it. I think I've been recording for long enough. I think I've been yapping for about an hour now. If you're still here, thank you so much for listening. I really hope some of you find this interesting, how this process actually goes, because I think it's really cool. But I mean, obviously I do. I'm the one. I don't. Whatever. So yeah, thank you for listening to me yap, and I hope I'll see you again, soon. Next video. I don't know. Whatever ends up happening next. I'm gonna see you there. Bye bye.